Please tell us how you came up with the idea, because it is crazy.
In regard to the idea of ZombieCon, it was kind of low budget zombie movies kind of being a thing.
Which is your favorite anime?
Oh my god.
A more favorite anime, but Dragon Ball Z will always hold that special place in my heart as like the OG.
If we see the credits, it is always you both, Kyle and Erin and Kyle. And how you guys managed it? Did you ever feel like, no, it is too much, like I need a break? Or
We didn't have the money to do that. We put from our $60,000 budget.
ThalaBuddy आवाज है असली सिनेमा के सफर में ये दोस्त है सच्ची रिव्यू हो ऑनेस्ट बात हो टाइट मूवी का सच्चा हम मिलता राइट ThalaBuddy आवाज है असली.
Hey guys, welcome back to ThalaBuddy. Today we have two amazing guests. They made the movie ZombieCON Volume 1. We already gave the review. Please go ahead and watch it if you have the time. Welcome guys. Thank you so much for being here. We have the amazing Erin with us, and we also have the amazing Kyle. Please tell us, for starters, how this began, how you came up with the idea, because it is crazy.
Well, first off, thank you so much for having us.
Having us.
In regards to the idea of ZombieCon, it was kind of a love child of necessity and, you know, a drunken night of creativity. We had known that we wanted to do we had basically the idea to do a film after doing a number of shorts, a bunch of like web series and stuff, and we weren't really getting a lot of attention. We probably didn't market as well as we should have, so we should have started there. But I was like, Erin, we've got to do something bigger. We've got to make a feature film because then people will respect us. So with like zero money, we're like, okay, what do we do it about? And at first I'm like, okay, well, zombies seem canonical with a filmmaker's first film. Coming from like a fan of Romero and all these people and like low budget zombie movies kind of being a thing. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like we could do that and make it look gritty and real, but how do we make it different? And that's kind of where we got a little hung up. And we were just trying to think like, how do we reinvent kind of the wheel without changing it so much that it's not recognizable as zombies? So I was visiting my brother down in Florida, and he is a huge movie prop collector. Like he collects all the replica props and the Predator masks and Captain America shields. And like, it's like a museum in his house. And it's probably drinking a little too much and just kind of looking around. And I was like, well, that'd be really cool to use that Captain America shield to fight off a zombie. I mean, this actually would work. It's a pretty good tool. And then you could use that thing. Oh, and then this thing, and then that thing. And then I was like, well, who would have all this stuff? And that's how the whole idea of cosplayers kind of came from it, because my brother wasn't going to allow us to pillage his movie props to make a movie.
Good decision. Good
ironically.
Decision, yes.
So I was like, but, I'm a cosplayer. I've got like EVA foam armor and stuff, and that would also be a good defensive tool. And then we kind of started going down that rabbit hole, and it fell in line pretty quickly because we're also huge anime fans. So it was like, I've always wanted to do like basically not a feature film adaptation of an anime, although I wouldn't not take the opportunity if it was presented, but try to infuse the kind of anime tentpoles into a feature film, but have it written to be a feature film from the very beginning. And cosplayers seem very obviously synonymous with anime. And so that also fell in line very nicely. And then once we got the train rolling, it was pretty quick from there, because it's like, well, who do you cast? With almost like no money at the time. We ended up getting a $60,000 budget, which for us was like a mind-blowing amount of money to make a movie with, because prior to that we have been doing, like I said, short films, web series, things for basically no money at all, like just trying to stitch things together ostensibly. And yeah, the friends were obviously necessity because you couldn't pay people, so it's like, well, who else is gonna join us on this crazy adventure and work these late hours? So the friend group was pretty natural. And yeah,
Kyle wrote the main characters around our friends. Like there was no doubt that they were going to be playing them. And of course, we're different in real life than our characters. Certain ones more so than others. Like Manny, who plays Rocket, is not a temperamental little bit of an asshole. He's the nicest guy in the world. But elements of our personality were definitely woven in there to help keep the chemistry and flesh out the characters. But we did also hold professional casting sessions in Los Angeles. I ran that, and which was great in person. And again, with indie film, you want to make sure you're casting people that seem like they're going to be great to work with on set too, because they're not coming in for the money on an indie film set. They're coming in for the experience, and that's half the battle too, making sure you're casting great, dynamic, great people. But we also cast real cosplayers for the convention scene as well. So I was Instagram DMing a whole bunch of local Los Angeles cosplayers, inviting them, and we got people coming in their own cosplays. So it was just, it was a little bit of an awesome mixed bag putting it together. Sorry to jump on there.
No, it is fine. I'm happy that you are also talking, because if we see the credits, it is always you both. It is like directing, filmmaking, casting, makeup, this, that. It is like Erin and Kyle, Kyle and Erin, Erin and Kyle. And how you guys managed it? Did you ever feel like, no, it is too much, we should hire someone, or like, I need a break, or just give me some time?
Yeah, I know. I would have loved to have hired people to do everything, but we didn't have the money to do that. We put, from our $60,000 budget, we probably put $30,000 towards equipment, and then $30,000 towards, costuming, crafty, location rentals, insurance, lawyers. Like, the amount of costs that go into doing something like this, right? It's scalable. A lawyer's fee is not going to change, right, from movie to movie in terms of contract negotiations all that much, but it's a lot. And so, on a low budget like this, that eats up a couple $1,000. A couple $1,000 could be another 2 days on set, another 3 days on set. So
it's also, you don't know what you don't know at the time.
Yeah.
And so if we'd known how long it was going to take, obviously we would have, found a way to get some money to hire out for sound and some critical stuff that Kyle ended up needing to take the time to teach himself and to get better at, and learning all those skills. My name appears a lot. Manny's does as well. Kyle is just like all over the credits, and rightly so, because he had to teach himself, and we invested in the equipment ourselves in order to bring this thing home. And we did try and find some distribution earlier on, but it wasn't ready, and we didn't find the right distribution partner. So it was kind of like, and with COVID in the mix as well, like, it was just a crazy journey in post-production. But it all worked out in the end, because it's out there finally. We got distribution, but it did take a long time.
Yeah, but it was also that process also, it was kind of putting your back up against the wall, where you're in this position, maybe knowingly on some subconscious level, I put ourselves in that position to force feed, I guess, information into our brains, or my brain, to like force me to have to do this. Because while yes, it's exciting, the movie is out there and everything else, another bonus to all of this is, because we did it all ourselves, we now can make a movie by ourselves, which, that skill and that experience has benefited us greatly after ZombieCon, and I think will continue to benefit us greatly much more in the future, especially with AI becoming such a powerful part of the production pipeline, and being able to do things at a very professional level, right, with very few people. It just seems like it's a scalable resource that we can, take advantage of, that 10-year block that we invested in ourselves in the future. So
we were investing a lot more in ourselves.
Yeah.
And the movie was, kind of the vehicle that was making us do that, for sure.
Yeah. A lot of times against heavy protest from me. It's not.
It was a journey. It was a journey. It was not for the faint of heart.
It's like an anime journey.
We didn't know that we were starting out on a hero's journey. We thought it was going to be, quick, wrap this up, a couple months, and then we'll get distribution. It'll be out there. We'll be on another project next year.
Yeah, this is kind of like, this is our post time skip arc in One Piece. So
now you guys are husband and wife. how is it working together? Do you feel it is easier being actress and director, or is it easier doing it with someone else? Because there's also a lot of personal things. In my case, I know sometimes I argue with my husband. Even on camera, I'm like, no, you're stupid. It shouldn't be like this. It should be like this. No, it should be like that. So how was it for you guys?
It definitely, there are shades of that, that's for sure. But I would say ultimately it is easier, and it's a huge blessing because there's no one that I can communicate with as quickly, as effectively, and that I ultimately trust as much as him. So whether, it's different talking to me as like the producer Erin, and then when I'm on camera, actress, whatever I am in that regard. But actress Erin loves having director Kyle as a husband, because I know not only is he going to tell me the truth, he's going to shoot me straight if that was not, my take is not on point, but he's also going to be the editor. And so I know that, he's going to make sure that I look good, and that makes me feel great. But as well, we can definitely rely on each other when we're stressed more than showing it to other people. We can, sometimes that comes out between the two of us, but ultimately that's the only downside. Everything else is upside. You can solve problems quicker. It's a lot of trust that is impossible with the amount of time and, communication that we have.
It's also stress management you learn. It's creative conversations, right, which could easily, especially as we started, right, would be very stressful, have now become, you get so used to the stress level being so high that if it continues to affect you emotionally, you'll be torn apart. So you kind of have to find a way to
compartmentalize.
Yeah. So you of course are internally probably more stressed than you're showing externally, but externally you're just having a regular conversation where it's like, I know we only have an hour to get this. I know the location's closing, but that, feeling, you'll learn, like, as we've gotten through the process, it was very obvious that type of stress externalization, it just takes time away from solving the actual problem, which then ultimately would make you even more stressed. So it's kind of like an Ouroboros where it's like, if you allow it to take hold, it just continually gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So, I feel like that's been put away. Like this last picture we did, we had some of the most stressful incidents ever. And I don't think that there was a single time where either one of us got stressed, outwardly.
His stress management and problem solving while under fire truly amazes me, and has grown so much even since ZombieCon. On this most recent shoot that we were doing, it was like the feeling would be that you're standing in the middle of the woods and everything is on fire, like literally, and you're in the middle of a circle, ring of fire, and you have to sit there and focus on one little detail at a time in order to just keep moving. And you can't focus on, the big picture and the fires all over. It's one problem at a time, solving it, and the most important that's in that moment. And you killed it. It was very impressive.
Oh, thank you.
It is funny you said that, because when you were talking, I was just thinking that your mind, I don't know if you know this meme of SpongeBob, in his mind and everything is on fire, and then he's just running inside trying to find the files and everything and trying to
that's just very perfect. You have to really compartmentalize and not focus on the big picture or give into your feelings, because like Kyle said, you don't have time to do that. It doesn't help, and you don't have time to. So
yeah.
What she said. Yeah. And for you guys, which do you feel was the biggest challenge? I will not say like together, but individually. What was the hardest thing for each of you?
I would say the balancing between producing and acting, because like 99% of the time before the set, the shoot day begins, on the shoot day, and then in the couple hours afterward where we're packing everything up and doing paperwork and all that, I'm in producer mode, and the acting is like just a tiny sliver of that. And so I think it was always stressful for me, worrying that one or the other was going to be suffering because I was trying to balance or focus too much on one or the other. But and the reality is, once the shoot started, it was a relief. When we're actually shooting, I was just Claire. I could put the producer hat away. But yeah, I would say in those quiet moments where you actually do have a second to breathe and think, late at night or in the morning, I'd be like, oh no, did I put enough work into my acting? Because I'm focusing so much on all these producer jobs. But I would say the balance was the most difficult for me.
And for me, I'd say that post-production audio was the biggest obstacle that I had to overcome. I didn't understand on all the short films and things we had done prior to the making of ZombieCon. I had done a lot of that work, but I had never properly mixed something into a 5.1, setup, or done a lot of the nitty-gritty stuff that you have to do when you're trying to professionally release something, like dialogue cleanup. Just so much I didn't understand, both on set and for how it would affect post-production in regard to audio. And that would be something that I would caution every new filmmaker to be like, hey, the visuals are great, but make sure you get really clean audio. Because that's really, I don't say it's 9/10 of the movie, but it's an extremely important part that I certainly overlooked. And I wish I had watched something and someone was like, hey, focus on audio. Microphones are more important than cameras a lot of the times. And, always, especially on set, be on the lookout for things that are making ambient noises, right? So like, maybe it's a constant clicking that's happening because one of the costume pieces is moving around. There's an easy fix for that, right? Just take a piece of double-sided tape and, you tape a necklace down to someone's shirt, something that would be invisible, that will save you a tremendous amount of time in post-production and allow you to capture clean audio. And little tiny things like that I didn't realize when we were making it, which caused years of my life to be spent in post-production on audio specifically. So that was definitely the most stressful for me. And it was also a mind kind of numbing experience, coming from the visual side of things and being very used to visual editing, to look at and understand what I'm looking at when you just see, hundreds, thousands at, the end of it, thousands of layers of little wave files stacked on top of each other. And it's overwhelming. And it's, now that we've been through it, I'm like, I actually enjoy audio a lot. Like, I especially enjoy Foley production and all that stuff.
Once you come out the other side.
Right. But learning it was.
And yeah, to that end, I do want to also add, I think the hardest part, and you probably agree with this too, was in the slog of post-production, not just like keeping positive, but keeping calm and encouraged and not discouraged with, how long it would take, or worrying about, will it ever look the way that we want it to look? Will we get the right distribution that we want? And having that still like personal confidence and optimism, it's like definitely a mental whole marathon there.
Yeah. It just helps to be a little bit crazy and unrealistic. So, yeah.
That's true.
I've been told more than
denial.
once I've been like very unrealistic in terms of my goals, but believing in yourself and never giving up and continuing to push yourself, that's like, I think 9/10 of solving every problem when it comes to everything in life. And so filmmaking is very similar to that, especially at this budgetary level, because if you don't believe in yourself, no one else is gonna, who else is gonna believe in you? It's like,
right.
It's got to start with you, and you can't let that falter. And there'll be dark days and there'll be good days, and through it all, just maintaining discipline and positivity, and having very much the marathon mentality of, it doesn't matter if you get a ton done today, but get something done, and then you get something done tomorrow, and something done the next day, and then at the end of the cumulative years or whatever, you'll finally have a movie. So
yes, and we already talked about the negative, and I also want to talk about the positive. Now, for you guys, which is something awesome that you'll be like, okay, we had this moment on set, or I love this part of the process, or this was like a dream for me? What it was for you guys?
I think the moment for me, it was the moment getting into costume, like wardrobe for the first time, and seeing all of us in wardrobe for the first time. Like the first shoot day was epically crazy, and a lot of things went wrong. We barely got any footage because of tech difficulties. So that was different. But the wow moment of like the train has left the station, we're all here, we've been rehearsing, we've worked on these characters, and now here we are. Like, it always as an actor feels real when you finally put on the wardrobe together and you're on set. It's like a pinch me moment.
Yeah, and for me, it was much simpler. It was the zombie kills. Like, I got into movies because I like action movies. I like, obviously horror movies. I'm kind of a cinephile. I like all types of movies. But the things that, especially as a kid, I always loved were action movies and fun, cool, things that you can't do in real life. Like, yes, dramatic movies are fun. They're interesting. We've done a lot of that, obviously, with the short films. But to be able to stab a zombie, it's like, well, obviously can't do that in real life. So getting to do that in a movie, that's it's like the little kid in me was like, oh, this is so cool.
Yeah, that's the first zombie kill. The first one that we shot was the first one chronologically that you see with me and my ex-boyfriend. Spoiler alert, you haven't seen the film yet, but it's pretty epic. And yeah, but when we shot that, it was mind-blowingly exciting and cool. And I definitely felt like I was having my Uma Thurman moment when all the blood started flowing. I was just stoked. I had no idea how much blood we were going to be employing. So it felt very real.
And since he's now staring directly into the camera, this is Mr. Whipples.
Literally.
He was on set the entire time with our other dog who has since passed. Yeah. But he was I wouldn't say he was very helpful in the making of the movie. He was
we had to devote we had maybe 2 quote PAs. It really was 1 PA through a system that we'd worked out. And they basically were devoted every single day to being downstairs with our dogs to make sure that they weren't making noise and a racket and barking with all the screaming going on and giving them love. So yeah, they're high priority in this household.
Yeah, he's like he's the studio executive. So he gets paid in food and water.
He makes a lot of complicated decisions.
He makes all the demands and does none of the work.
Yes.
Gives emotional support. That is a huge job.
Yes.
So he deserves the treats. Now,
yes, you do.
When it comes to the practical effects, how did you manage it? Because you guys did a really great job on that.
Thank you very much. Well, the makeup, 90% of all credit to Joseph Trebresco, who is our makeup artist on the film. I had met him doing a movie in New York about a month prior to starting filming, and we knew we needed a makeup artist. And I saw his book of work. He was absolutely fantastic. And I was like, hey, we don't have a lot of money, but I can give you, a little bit. If you wouldn't mind sleeping on our couch, I could take the money that I'd have to cost to put you in a hotel. And, you could just hang out with us. Like, is that cool? And he was 100% down. And he was truly a master in what he does. So we had talked about what I wanted the zombies to look like. And he actually built custom molds, latex molds for everything, and was pouring molds and doing all that stuff and applying all the makeup, and taught me a lot about makeup while we were doing it. So for blood sprays, we used a really cheap solution. That was just a weed sprayer from Amazon for $20, one of those hand pump weed sprayer, with kind of diluted blood that was a little bit more fluid, and that allowed these beautiful sprays. But he definitely was the one who was the master of that craft. And because we knew that we couldn't do a lot with makeup, we wanted the things that we did do to be great. So we focused on specifics as opposed to mass kind of zombies. So each one of our zombies was kind of like a hero zombie, if you will. So there was a lot of time put into making sure they looked correct. And I gave him the latitude on set to say, okay, he's going to need 2 hours to get these, 4 zombies into makeup. And if it takes 3, well, then it'll take 3.
It's important. Yeah.
But he did a fantastic job. And then a lot of the other practical effects, like with stabbing and, all that stuff, it was kind of just a solve by the seat of your pants type thing. because I don't know if he had done a lot of these like stabbing things before. So it was kind of me and him problem solving it. For the swords penetrating the body, we used GoPro chest harnesses, and then sawed katanas in half on the deck. The sound guy and I, actually, Chad Tolson, who's a friend of mine, longtime friend, we were out there the middle of summer in Los Angeles on a porch that overlooked a bunch of dry foliage, sawing with an angle grinder or something. I don't know what it was. I'm not too savvy with the tools, but sawing katanas in half, sparks flying everywhere. I'm thinking, oh my God, this is how you hear about the story where it's like,
what dumbass was doing that on the porch in the middle of dry Los Angeles?
Indie filmmaker sets fire to the hills of Los Angeles.
Done.
But
get the buckets ready.
No fires created, luckily.
No.
In terms of costuming, I had my helpers with the EVA foam, Erin and Manny.
Foam smiths.
Kind of helped out a lot, but I designed all the EVA foam armor, and I had built a lot of that stuff prior to this. So it was only difficult because you had to make so many pieces.
And Kyle painted the pieces too. I mean, we helped a little bit here and there, but this was Kyle's whole project.
Yeah, no, it was. But painting is fun for me. I've always been into Warhammer and like painting miniatures, which. The scale issue, again, it's the amount of pieces that you had to do for this, because each character had so many distinctive pieces of armor, and because I wanted them to be different levels of battle damage, I should have gone harder with the battle damage in retrospect, but I had 4 sets for each character, so it resulted in maybe 1,000+ pieces of foam armor needing to be created for the entire film, and that just took a tremendous amount of time. And on top of that, the painting of said foam armor an almost equally long amount of time, because again, you've got 1,000 pieces and they're not necessarily small.
And speaking of time, I got our 1-year-old baby. I need to go sit down for her nap in just a minute here, but I do have time for another question, and then I'm going to pop off. If I can come back, if I can get her settled quickly, I will. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no problem. I just wanted to ask you, which is your favorite anime?
Oh my God. That's like Rosemary's Baby trying to decide between two kids.
Dragon Ball Z. I have to go with that. Started with Dragon Ball Z in like the early 90s when I was like 5, and it kind of bit me with the bug of all of their anime since then. So I'll have to go with that as my favorite. Although now I could, obviously I've seen hundreds of anime now. I probably have at this current time a more favorite anime, but Dragon Ball Z will always hold that special place in my heart as like the OG.
All right. I don't know why, because I know that like logically it's like not the best anime ever, but I truly love Demon Slayer. It has a special place in my heart of rewatchability that I could and have rewatched that anime so many times, and in any of the arcs with any of the characters, I don't even want to skip episodes. Like, I am in. So yeah, just like Kyle said, it could change, but right now it's Demon Slayer.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. If I can pop back,
I will so much.
Pray that she's just like an easy
down
for an
No problem.
Mr.
Go ahead, it is fine.
Yeah, filmmaking with a baby is
Mr. Whip.
Totally. Yeah.
And thank you so much for having Mr. Whip. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Go ahead. Thank you so much. I cannot imagine how it is to have a child. I think that's why I'm waiting. I'm so scared of that. It's so hard.
I will tell you that in a way, right, it does make everything more difficult because she is now the priority. But it raises your stress threshold because you learn how to micromanage even better, and everything else seems so much less important and less like crazy when you've had to take care of like a human life. You're like, oh my God, I thought I knew what stress was. That is so stressful. Everything else now, it's like, oh, did we have the wrong lens? Okay, what's that? Oh, we've got to get filler light. Okay, it's everything else is just like, oh, this is just toys and life. Like, it's not a living, breathing human being, which is like, I don't know. I've just never been more stressed than in the hospital, like the day after my daughter was born, not knowing how to do anything, and like you're staring at this like little baby. She's so fragile, she's so small, and I can't mess anything up. I'm freaking out. Like, where are the YouTube tutorials on this? Like, like where's the team? Do we have grips? But then you learn. I think every new parent's like, yeah, that's how it always is, beginning. And then you get in a couple weeks, you're in a month, you're in a couple months, you're in a year. Okay, I got this, and it really is, I don't know, it helps in terms of filmmaking because it lowers the pressure, I felt like, for me, for every project since she's been born. I'm like, oh, well, it's just a film. I mean, we could do this. It's not like I have to worry about the film stopping to breathe or anything like that, or, the myriad of things that you're worried about with a baby. And once you've dealt with changing diapers, I mean, there's nothing more stressful than changing diapers. So.
You can do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I cannot imagine how is baby poo.
It's not
amazing job.
It's not fun, but it's totally worth it, 100%. So, but again, it's all life in stages. I don't think I would have wanted that when we were at the beginning of our journey, because we had so much, like we were talking about, 10 years of time to learn all this stuff, a lot of stress, and it took us a long time to get to that point. So it's a process.
Yes, that I can say. Okay, I'll go back to ZombieCon. And I was wondering, we were talking about the special effects, the prosthetics and everything, of what we see on the film. What is VFX and how much is, well, it's not what, how much is VFX and how much is practical?
Everything is practical, apart from the zombie eyes, for the most part, on the zombies. So for the eyes, to get that glow, we could have gone with contacts, which was my initial plan, but the contacts cost a ton of money. And in order to satisfy all the guild rules and insurance and all this stuff, for those contacts, each actor would have had to see an optometrist, which would have also cost a lot of money. So to get fitted for those contacts. So it didn't seem like it would have been like thousands of dollars to do practical eyes. And we just didn't have that money. So I was like, oh, okay, we'll figure it out in post. Was great for the budget initially, and then cost, years of time in post tracking individual eyeballs and applying all these effects. And Manny was that was kind of his main job, was to apply zombie eyes in the post-production. And it took him probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years of cumulative time working in post to get all those eyes on. And of course, like, not working every day, like all day on eyes, but he did spend a lot of days working all day on eyes. And some of the other digital effects would be like the alleyway scene where they enter the tunnels for the first time. Like, all of that smoke, that's all added. I added in After Effects, and I had to make it move realistically and make it look like it was all actually happening. But apart from those two things, and some of the TV lay-ins, which we started with green screen and then just had to lay it in, everything is practical because that's what we were used to. And that's kind of where our budget was. We didn't have, super advanced VFX skills or computers. And back, now today it's like a computer that's relatively affordable can do so much. Back then, you apply some of these effects and you just sit and you're watching your computer go for days trying to pump it out. So it's that's a cool deal.
Yes, that is true. That is something people forget. And guys, please appreciate your indie films. They do everything on their own without a huge team. Just think, they're editing eyes for 1.5 years. Yeah. Think of that. And now, when it comes to the part of violence and the gore, how do you decide this is enough or this is too much? How did you narrow it down? This is the perfect balance of gore that we're going to have in our film.
I think it's more of a feeling thing. It's not like a mathematical equation that I had. I just kind of was like on set talking to Joe. Okay, spray the blood here. Make sure you get it in their mouth and eyes. Like, you know, make it like this. I just thought that'd be cool. Like, it's something, again, it kind of mixing that anime with reality. It was kind of movies probably playing back in my head, a lot of subconscious, you know, merging together of a million different things that I've seen. And you just kind of do it until it feels right. And that's kind of where the gut is, like an artist comes in, where you're like, what satisfies what you want to see for your vision. And I wouldn't be able to be like, this is the exact amount of gore that I want to see in any particular thing, but I knew what I wanted. So great question, because I don't know. I don't know, apart from like, it was my gut. I can't tell you exactly.
Trust your gut.
Yeah, no, you really should. That's what makes every story teller and movie maker different, right? It's because we all have different guts and thresholds for what we want to see. And, you know, if you trust that gut, well, at the end of the day, you're going to have your story, right? As opposed to trying to be like, I'm going to copy and paste what someone else did. So for better or worse, that's what my gut was telling me. And that's the perfect amount of gore that I wanted to see.
And it worked. That is the main thing.
Thank you.
Yes. And when it comes to a cosplay, because at least my husband, he doesn't watch anime, but I do watch anime. And I was just wondering how you decided, like, okay, these are the cosplays that we're going to do.
So that was a mixture of what was technically feasible, what I was into kind of at the time, while also trying to pay homage to like kind of my roots. So obviously Javier is like a big Dragon Ball Z fan. So that was a lot of, you know, obviously my influence. I wanted to have a character who's like the most innocent of all the characters, to be like kind of like that childhood, you know, aesthetic. And so that seemed like a natural fit for Dragon Ball Z. And Christian Casillas, who plays Javier, was also a fan of Dragon Ball Z. So it seemed like an easy fit for that character. In terms of like our end cosplay, Javier is like kind of a mixture of a Green Ranger and Saiyan armor. And again, it was trying to do a mashup between the two, to do, again, something different, but also those different types of, I don't know, worlds, and create like this combo character type thing that could then become its own thing. For Rocket, he was basically an Attack on Titan like mix with like some added elements for padding, because he had all this like EVA foam armor on. Because the N4 characters, it's not really any specific cosplay. They have adjacent elements of these kind of known brands, but I wanted them to kind of be like their own 4 superheroes within this universe. So, but the base was like, okay, try to make it Attack on Titan-esque. His character has got a lot of that like Aaron Yeager angstiness, but like, you know, there could be something more hiding under the surface. Maybe we'll find out in Volume 2 and Volume 3 and where it goes from here. Claire, her end cosplay was like, I was going for something that was like underworldish, kind of Celine from Underworld, but like with Warhammer influence as well. Because again, I said I've been a Warhammer fan for a long time. And so trying to merge those kind of cool elements with like the dark boots, and, you know, which, to be fair, you didn't see a lot of the boots, but she was wearing giant, like, you know, knee high. I wish I had featured them more, because they were, she always complains about how hard they were to wear, but they looked so cool on set. And then for Punky, it was kind of like Predator inspired, mixed with, I don't know, a couple other elements, just like kind of very militaristic, something that was going to be like Punky Johnson, who plays Punky in the movie, has been like a good friend of mine for a very long time. And she has always just struck me as an absolute badass, and has reminded me of Vasquez from the Aliens movie, like in terms of like her personality. Like, I don't know why, like she gets shit done. Like, I feel like in a survival circumstance, like, she's always going to have backup weapons. She's going to always be like, you know, that type of person. And so, yeah, so I was just trying to merge, and the Predator seemed right. It was like her dreads were so awesome, like, and like the Predators got kind of like dreadish type thing. So it seemed to pair very nicely. And then like the extra camo and stuff, and like her camo cloak and stuff, that was all kind of like a military inspired, you know, aliens homage and like other elements kind of merged in there. But that's like the basis for their cosplays. For the beginning of the movie, when we did a Guardians of the Galaxy, like adjacent, like our version of those characters, we needed a group of 4 characters that was going to be recognizable, that people would know. Okay, so if people weren't familiar with anime or cosplay, they needed to understand from just a snapshot, okay, these are people who dress up like canonical characters. So Guardians of the Galaxy at that time was one of my favorite, like, I thought it was one of the more original movies that had come out in that time period. I thought the humor was on point. The foursome of characters was interesting and dynamic and had different personalities and qualities. And I thought they mirrored our characters fairly closely. You know, obviously big differences, but in terms of where our characters were going and what their story was, it seemed like a very natural fit for a group of 4. And they were all unique and different, as opposed to, let's say, like the Ninja Turtles, which, you know, could have also mirrored our characters in a way. But budgetary speaking, buying 4 turtle cosplays and having all 4 of our main characters with giant masks on, not the best way to introduce, you know, the characters. So part feasibility, part operability, and then part kind of story integration. And also, again, drawing from the things that were inspiring me at the time of making the movie. So that's kind of where we fell in with that. And, you know, it also seemed to fit very nicely because you've got, you know, Rocket, the raccoon. We've got our adjacent version of that with Punky. And it's kind of like that asshole, take no shit kind of, you know, character. You've got kind of your questionable leader, right, with Rocket versus Star-Lord. It's like, are they really leaders? There are a lot of things here that don't really make sense about the leadership qualifications on these people. You know, Gamora with Claire is a little bit more of a stretch because, you know, Claire is a much more heartfelt, like emotionally based character, and Gamora, at least in the first movie, she's very, you know, she's basically a super soldier, and so it's not really, can't really get away from that. And then with Drax, of course, and Javier, or our Drax adjacent character and Javier, you know, they're both just innocent souls, really. And so that seemed to also pair well. So that was it just seemed pretty obvious to choose them, but I'm sure the wheels in the back of my head were spinning for a while, probably, to get to that point.
Yes, and generally when I see the work that you guys put in, and the first scenes that we watch in the movie, obviously the process of recording it is very different to what we see on screen. And then while I was watching the acting scenes of the other people, not your cast, but the other people that they were putting up the show, how it was for you? Like, did you give them a scene, or they came and they just improv? How it was?
So for the dances and stuff, we did not have time to choreograph that or do any of that. So on the day that we got everyone there, and I think even during the rehearsals with Xander Rules, I told them that they'd be doing this and that they're going to have to figure out something. And I was like, look, it's got to look, for Xander Rules, I was like, it can't look like anything you would normally see. Like, it can't be in any way realistic. The whole point is the rockets have fooled you, right? This has got to be over the top, ridiculous. And I think someone was like jokingly like, oh, we should make it like sexy. And I was like, yeah, make it, that's great. Just like a sexy dance or something. And like, you know, and they were like, and they ran with it. They created that whole dance and routine. And I'm watching it in the camera. I'm like, well, this is definitely not what this would normally look like. So this works. I don't know if I would have had like, you know, people coming out from people's legs and like doing all this stuff. I wouldn't have felt comfortable being like, hey, ladies, will you, you know, drape yourself on Xander's legs and do this stuff because I'd have been like, I don't think I could have gotten there. But that's something that they completely came up with, and I think it worked perfectly, and it was absolutely hilarious. And for Team Force, the Star Wars adjacent cosplayers who started, I gave them kind of a regular rundown. I was like, okay, here are your Sith Lords, here's your Jedi, you're having a general issue fight, and then the Jedi wins. And I was like, so you can figure out. And so they choreographed that, and that was Mike Ferguson and Liz Torres, and oh my god, I'm blanking on the gentleman's name. Anyway, our Jedi character, who is absolutely fantastic. I think it's anyway, it's in the credits, but they were all fantastic, and they did an absolutely great job. And yeah, again, they took the reins and ran with it completely. So
yes, I can agree with that. I think in that scene, the
Sean,
sexy scene,
Sean
I was
Cortell.
like this.
Oh yeah. Sean Cortell is the third gentleman's name. So I just didn't want to forget that.
But he remembered you. That is the main thing. You're here. Now, when it comes to indie films, how is it for you to get your deals? I know that once you have the movie, everything is ready. How do you decide who should I approach to distribute my film? If I should try, maybe, I don't know, how it is if you would like to have it in a movie theater, how it is if you want to have it on streaming services, how it works.
Now, there's a difference between what you can do and what you want to do. I had very ambitious goals with rolling this film out. A lot because during the production process, we figured that I was doing so many jobs that it might actually be, I was like joking, I was like, this is probably a world record for the amount of jobs that are being done on this movie. And we looked it up, and yeah, there's like, I have 100+ credits or something in the movie, and the current world record holder is Jackie Chan with like, I don't know, 20 credits or something. So it blew that out of the water. So we called Guinness and we're like, hey, we made this movie. Like, how do we qualify to get that record? Because we figured it'd also be a great promotional tool to get the movie out there if we could piggyback off of that. And one of their prerequisites was it needed to be distributed in like, I don't know how many theaters, thousands of theaters, which was like a huge expense. But that was kind of our goal. It's like, well, how do we get into thousands of theaters? Because then we can get this record, and that'll make, obviously if we get into a ton of theaters, that's already a huge win. And we didn't really understand the process. So as we were chasing that dragon, we were obviously also learning. We were learning about sales agents. We're learning about distribution models, the cost of putting things into movie theaters. And just to give a breakdown for any new filmmakers, a sales agent is someone who you engage with in order to sell it to a distributor. And they basically, their value is their relationship with distributors. Their distributor will take their phone calls, will take their emails, will look at the projects that they're selling them. They can pitch the movie and what its strengths are and what audiences it targets and why it is that they should put it out there. You could conceivably do that as an individual, but the problem with it is the relationship and not having those relationships. A lot of these people will not take you seriously. They won't take your call. We sent out hundreds of cold emails to distributors. We never heard anything back. So it wasn't until we started with the sales agent process that we started to get some traction in the distribution phase. Once we got a sales agent and we were able to then start engaging with distributors, you realize putting an indie movie like this out into a movie theater is going to be almost impossible unless you pay for it yourself. And the costs associated with putting something into a theater start at the DCP, which is basically a hard drive that holds a high-res JPEG version of the movie, and has got everything coded correctly to let it play on a digital cinema projector. And they can be, $1,000, $1,200. It depends on scalability and how many you order and, who you have doing it for you. You can actually do it yourself in DaVinci Resolve and buy the hard drive yourself, and that'd be way cheaper. But again, it was another skill that I was like, I don't know if I feel comfortable learning that, because if I mess it up, then it's a big problem.
Yeah.
And the distributors, unless you're in the very, very small group of people, and usually those people have a connection somewhere else or a producer who's made that connection with a distributor, it's probably not going to go to a movie theater, which in America today, you know, it's hit or miss on whether or not that was better or worse. It would have been cool to see it in a movie theater, but it's not as big as it maybe once was. Obviously, that being said, I would love to see it in the theater. But the distributors on this level of film are going to come back and they're going to say, okay, we're going to put it in X amount of places, you know, and that's going to be their cost to put it in those places, because it does cost money to put it up on Apple TV and Amazon and all this stuff. But we got a really wide distribution deal without being in theaters, because we were basically everywhere apart from theaters. And that's going to be distributor specific and based upon what they see the value of your film being. And even though we're like, this is a huge target market, it doesn't necessarily, the math doesn't necessarily work for them. And so that's another song and dance you do. Outside of the domestic distribution, international distribution, again, that's a sales agent thing where they'll talk to other people and make deals, and it gets out in other places based upon gauged interest and how well the movie's doing here or there. And it's a whole song and dance. It's the least fun part of all filmmaking because it involves the business side and it's not really generally creative. Now, that being said, if you wanted to circumnavigate the sales agent and distribution route, which is not my forte, I just know what I know from having experienced my relationships with those folks. There are movies that have done, one notably, I think it's Hundreds of Beavers, which was an indie film, black and white, was very like kind of old cartoony style, that did a focused approach on distribution where they would target a specific geographic area. They had enough money to put it into, let's say, 5 theaters in a specific geographic area and condense their advertising budget to only focus on that area. So like a 20-mile map. And it looked like to those people within that radius, this movie was everywhere. It was in all the theaters. It was getting all this advertising. And they went from area to area to area to area to area to area over a long period of time, and using the money they made from each previous area to reinvest into the next area. At least that's my understanding. I haven't spoken to them, but that, from what I've learned from the internet and reading a million articles, it seemed to work very well for them. If we hadn't just had our daughter when we were releasing this film, that probably would have been an approach that we took. But traveling with a 1-month-old baby and doing all of that is just not, it's not feasible. So, we went in a different direction. But that would be something that, if you're an indie filmmaker and you're not finding any kind of progress with sales agents or distributors, there is always the option today to do it yourself. And I also wouldn't scoff at putting something just out on the internet, especially as a first-time filmmaker, because you're limited and hamstrung so much by budget and constraints and things that you can't do. And when people go to see a movie in the theaters especially, they're not necessarily thinking, how hard was it to do this for $60,000, right? They're thinking, I paid X amount of dollars for my movie ticket. I want to see the spectacle. I want to see everything. So they're not going to necessarily be forgiving if they're like, well, you pulled off the impossible, but, it
this is not good. Yeah.
Right. So there are different levels of expectations. So I don't know. It's kind of a go with the flow and try to make the best decisions you can and read as much as you can and learn as much as you can before you start, and research everyone that you potentially work with to the nth degree, and make sure it's someone that you want to have a relationship with, because there are a myriad of stories online. We've not personally experienced this, but there are a myriad of horror stories that we've read online while researching who we were going to work with, of filmmakers being taken advantage of. That just unfortunately part of the process we all deal with in the world we live in. There are always bad actors, and you just want to make sure that you steer clear of known bad actors. And a lot of those resources we found very helpful on Reddit, from filmmaker forums and Facebook groups and other places where filmmakers would air their grievances about, different people. Some of those grievances, I'm not sure how realistic they were, because I think it's just someone who, kind of mad about their own position. But when you see the same story from multiple sources, or you're like, okay, that's enough evidence to make a educated decision about this person. We'll avoid that person and we'll go with that person. So
Yes, I think it is really hard to not be taken advantage when you're starting in something, when you're trying to break through. And with that in mind, do you think that streaming services, they have made it easier for indie filmmakers, or do you feel that it is still really hard to make it through?
I think that streaming services have become, in many ways, like the big studios. Netflix is like one of the biggest, if not the biggest studio currently. I think that smaller streaming services are making it very easy for younger and new filmmakers to get through. But they have to be a streaming service that is investing in indie filmmakers and is not kind of, blinded by the, we need to have this name or this thing, or, you've got to have written this before this or gotten here. They've got to be willing to take a chance. Like the hat I'm wearing right now, actually, is for Screamify, which is a brand new horror streaming service. And they're actively pursuing engagements with indie filmmakers. And part of their mission is to help indie horror kind of get to the next frontier. And they actually hired us to make our most recent project, which is a vertical called Autonomous, which is a horror movie that I'll be working on right when we get done here to hopefully deliver today. So in that respect, they have made it easier, but they seem to be very much a unicorn in the sea. I think that the thing that's made it most accessible for new filmmakers is the fact that we can all speak to each other on the internet, and communication, and being able to share ideas, and put our products out there and get feedback and grow and learn. And it does take, doesn't matter how good you are or how bad you are, you're going to get praise where you don't necessarily deserve it, and you're going to get knocked down with criticism that you don't necessarily deserve. And you can't take any of it too emotionally, and you've just got to take everything as a learning process. It's like, again, like with researching people, when you hear enough things the same time, you could start to say, okay, maybe there's some value in that, whether it's good or bad. And the best thing to do with bad criticism is to lean into it and learn from it and use it as information for your next film. So that's just kind of like an asterisk disclaimer about anything. But I think that it ultimately comes down to what is your basically end goal, and not being discouraged from how different the beginning of the journey is from what that end goal you want it to be. And trust that, any journey worth taking is going to take a million steps. And so just because you're not there yet, or the film doesn't get a massive distribution at the first onset, even if it's a small distribution, even if it's you putting it for yourself up on Tubi or something, that is still a massive win, because the biggest, I guess, challenge in all of this is just finishing it. Everyone has ideas. Everyone is like, oh, I could make the best movie. I could do this. I could write the best story. I've got this story. I've got that story. Everyone has good ideas. But do you have the willpower to force yourself to do the things you don't want to do, to actually get it done and get it out there? And if you're willing to go down that path and go down that journey, and you keep taking those difficult steps, even as the hill gets steeper and steeper, and you find yourself drained mentally, physically, financially, and you keep pushing and you believe in yourself, you will see some version of that end goal at some undetermined point in the future. but you can't give up, and you've got to stay with it, and you've got to stay positive to the best of your ability. And that's where great friends and family and a great support structure is important. It's not just about not listening to like the naysayers, which you can't do, you can never do. There's a lot of people who want to do this. I think we talked briefly before we got on stream, little jealousy and stuff with people always like kind of wanting to. Everyone wants to do something. They don't necessarily have the willpower to maybe push themselves to do it. They'll very easily try to rip you down just because it's not something that they can see themselves getting into, or for whatever reason they're stopping themselves. And that's another unfortunate truth of the world. But that's just another challenge. It's just like getting the blood in the right spot, or getting the camera in the right position, or getting the lighting right. Filmmaking is probably the most difficult form of work on the planet because it involves all of the mental aspects associated with running a business and all of the creative principles, from writing to manufacturing reality in like an unrealistic space, to the technical kind of know-how of the cameras and all the operating systems and all of the programs. So you're like kind of hybrid computer programmer, technical wizard with like, okay, how do I screw these things that don't work, these 10 bolts together with this thing to make this weird thing work, mixed with all the regular creative aspects of like, okay, painting and costume creation and all this other stuff. And like, so you really, you got to be excited about the whole process. And if you can't do it all, that's totally fine. That's usually the case. You just find trusted people who are way better than you and empower them to do those things.
Yes, I think it is super hard to do everything the way you did it. Most of the people, they always have someone, and I think we as viewers, we forget all the work that people put behind the movies. That it is not just the actors and the director, but there's I don't know if 1,000 or even more steps behind bringing that movie for you as a viewer to enjoy it and all. And another thing that I wanted to ask you is about your upcoming project. And it took you a very long time to reach here and to release ZombieCon. And at least me and my husband as ThalaBuddy, we are glad you approached us because now we're excited about your next projects. I know this is a bit of the question and everything, but I think one rewarding part for you guys, because it is not only you, is that now slowly you'll also get your fan base, or you'll get people that enjoy what you're making, or that they share a similar mindset. And that is like, besides the monetary part and the recognition, it is another rewarding thing. Besides saying like, yes, I finally finished this project that I was doing for 5-6 years and now I can watch it. I think that is quite rewarding. So what are your expectations about your upcoming project? Plus, if you can tell us a bit about it.
So expectation wise, I mean, I've dissuaded myself from having any expectations apart from just wanting to make the best thing that I can possibly make. I spent a long time in post-production on ZombieCon, worried about what it would be at the end of it. Seeing the red carpet and the big lights and all this stuff. And, that stuff is good to fantasize about and keep you on the right path and keep you focused. But at the end of the day, I didn't get into this to kind of do that. I kind of got into it to make the coolest thing I could do. And it makes me feel so honored to be a part of a larger community now. Like you were saying, when people enjoy your work and you could talk to other filmmakers and kind of create this community of creatives, which, living in isolation for 10 years, working on a computer by yourself, something that I was sorely missing. So it's, that in of itself is a dream come true. And to be able to share work with people who are interested and excited to see it, regardless of whether they're like, oh, this was worse or this was better, it doesn't matter. It's great to talk about it and share your work, especially when you spend so much time putting it in there. For this project, I'm very excited because I've never done a vertical before. So filming in that aspect ratio was like kind of being a kid in the candy store and starting not necessarily from scratch, but getting to find new and interesting ways to frame shots. And you know, just I like experimenting with stuff and doing things that are new, and you know, it just gets my creative engines firing. So that was a blast. The project itself, I can share a little bit about it. It's about a couple. It stars Erin, and they're basically hijacked by an autonomous vehicle. And it's like the first, apparently, it's the first film to ever be shot inside one of these autonomous vehicles. We've got like these things now just rolling out across the United States. You know, the Google driving cars and all this stuff. They're called Waymos. Our car is called a Gomo. So it's a little different on a Waymo. But it's an interesting concept too, because it also marries new technology, kind of like a sci-fi-ish element with that, because it's obviously not sci-fi because it exists in our real world, but it's a brand new step for horror, because it's like this is now like part of everyday life, and it's kind of freaky. I wrote in one to research for the movie, and seeing the steering wheel like jerk around as you're in the back seat, and like seeing cars fly at you, and like it's running to an intersection a little bit fast. You're like, oh, you're gonna break the car? What's happening? It's like thrilling, exciting, and also terrifying all at the same time. So as that becomes more of a commonplace, it's just cool to be on kind of the cutting edge of it. So I'm very excited to get it out there, and like I said, hopefully today we'll we'll be able to seal it up and get it out to the folks over at Screamify who have been anxiously awaiting it and have been extremely patient with me, because you know, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so it's probably things that no one will notice that I'm like, it's got to be just right. It's got a little bit more to the left.
Yes, I feel you. I'm like that. I think my husband, he has an issue with this, because he's like, no, I'm not giving you this work because I know that till is perfect, you will not give it to me. So it is better that if you want to do something, I'll give you this, that we have 1 or 2 weeks for you to edit or do. But if we need something fast, then I'll do it, because I'm more practical. And in my case, I'm like, no, it has to be perfect. The text has to be here. The audio has to be like this. And the quality has to be like that. The struggle is real. I get you.
And see,
it is very hard.
Me and my wife are kind of like the inverse of you and your husband. See, that's me. And my wife is kind of the more practical. No one's going to notice that. Just, you know, you're the only one who's going to see in that corner of the frame, that little thing. I'm like, yeah, but if they do notice it, then I know that I noticed it. And then someone else is going to say, and I'm like, yeah, but I saw that was happening wrong. I was going to fix it. So
I will know it is there.
That's right. But it's great to have that balancing partner. It's like the yin and yang of life. And I think you found a perfect partner when you have those discussions and you both fall on the opposite side. Because if everyone was a perfectionist, nothing would ever get done.
Yes, I agree. Yes, I completely agree with you. It is tough to be a perfectionist, and we need our person. And I think people forget that it is healthy to have discussions and sometimes arguments in marriage, because those are the things that help you grow, and those are the things that also keep you grounded. And you are not always right. Especially me as a woman, people think that I'm always right. I'm not always right. I do make a lot of mistakes.
Oh, this is the first I'm hearing. I'm not always right. I didn't know. I didn't know that. Yeah. It's having discussions and especially on a film. And this goes right back to indie filmmaking. Always listen to everyone. It doesn't matter where an idea comes from. Part of making indie films, and one of the most beautiful things that I found about it is that it is truly a collaborative process. It's, you know, even if you're the director and creator, it's a team sport. And especially when you are doing so many jobs on any set, and everyone's doing a lot of jobs, right? It's not just you. It's like the sound guy is carrying, you know, a bunch of grip equipment, or it's got like our Chad Tolson, who I mentioned, did audio on ZombieCON, also did audio on our last movie, which is a different project altogether, and also on our new upcoming vertical Autonomous. And we've been friends for, I don't know, maybe like a decade and a half since college. So I don't know how old I am now. I try not to keep track, but a long time. And, you know, he's out there and he's doing audio, but he's also, you know, taking care of 15 other things. And Finn, Realty Dragon on the internet, who's a musician as well as Chad's also a musician, but he came and helped us on Autonomous, and he was kind of like my first AD, you know, focus puller, but also was, you know, my master of lighting, I'll call him, because I was like having trouble with the app that was connecting to all of the aperture lights. So I was like, Finn, please learn this program. I can't deal with these connectivity issues. I got like 6 other things to worry about. I'm trying to get the Teradek system working. It's not working. Our follow focus thing wasn't working. So I'm problem solving those things. He's problem solving these things. And he's also got a huge background in digital effects. And we did a lot of this as a poor man's process on a blue screen for the most recent vertical. And I knew exactly what I needed the blue screen to be, because after pulling so many screens from ZombieCon with Erin's hair, which is a nightmare. Blonde hair, even on a blue screen, is a nightmare for pulling keys. Even if you have the perfect blue screen, it is so infuriating. On green screen, it's worse because the green blends in with the yellow. But even on a blue screen, it's difficult. So I was really focused on that. And then we were doing other digital lay-ins and stuff. And because of his experience, he was like, hey, maybe you don't want to use so many tracking markers. And I looked back, and we had a new PA on set, Jeremiah Baker, who was fantastic. And he was doing kind of behind the scenes and stuff. But he was learning a lot of the behind the scenes process. And he's a very, very smart guy. He's like constantly asking questions and like obviously really wanted to understand everything. And so I was giving him, you know, different tasks that I thought would be appropriate. And one of them was like, hey, I need tracking markers on the car, because we've got to now turn this other car into this third car, you know, at a different point in the film. Finn comes up to me. He's like, hey, you probably don't want that many tracking markers on the car. And I turn back, and Jeremiah had put, you know, I don't know, 100 tracking markers on this car. And I'm just looking at like removing those. And I was like, oh, and I wouldn't even have thought about it, even if I was looking at it with the camera, because I was focused on the actors. And so I was like, yeah, that was 100%. And of course, Jeremiah didn't know, because this is his first time putting tracking markers on anything. So he's just doing a good job. I would have done the same thing in his position. I'd have been like, well, the more tracking markers, the better, you know? And so then he, of course, you know, he takes them off. We get the appropriate amount of tracking markers. But little things like that, or, you know, a million times, I can't remember all the times, but someone will say, hey, what about this or what about that? And, you know, as a director and a person who's kind of in charge of the crew, you know, it's kind of like One Piece. It's like the best captains in One Piece are not the captains who micromanage everyone. They're the captains who kind of let their crew be their crew, and you let people be who they are, and you know, you manage it, right? Where you're all in the same ship going in the same direction. But people need to be able to have their own creative vision within every project you're doing. And that empowers everyone. And that ultimately empowers the project, which people will see when they see Autonomous.
Insert promo here. I would also like to know more about you personally. And I'm a horror fan. In this channel, everyone knows we love horror. What do you love about horror? Which are your favorite horror movies?
So my favorite thing about horror, just like general, is when you're sitting there watching a horror movie, and like I've become more jaded as I've gotten older. But even now, I can sit down and watch a horror movie, and you're thinking, oh, you know, I'm not scared. I'm fine. I could deal with this problem. And then you start to get that chill that like climbs up the base of your spine and like kind of hits your shoulders. And you start like looking into the dark recesses of the room, like, or you're like, what the fuck? This is really like, and I absolutely love when a movie does that, because it's like bleeding off the screen into your reality and like transforming your world in like a very real way. That's like my favorite, like just general thing about horror. in terms of like my favorite horror movies, growing up, obviously, and the early, like I was born in '87, so my dad was a big cinephile, so I got all the '80s horror movies, all the '70s, all the '90s, of course, early 2000s. Like that was like my main years of like horror information, like downloading. But the movies that terrified me the most as a kid, it like the original one,
The OG.
yeah, like that one was horrifying. I can remember, and we used to have a laserdisc player, so you'd have to get up and like flip the big record, CD over for all the, and it's such a long movie. You have to do this so many times, and every time I got up, I was like, covered in those chills. Like the house is dark, and like you gotta like flip this thing over and like start it all over. You don't even have the light of the TV to really help you out. So that was like a very iconic experience. I rewatched that a lot when I was a kid because it was awesome to feel those feelings. Halloween was another one that was very just horrifying to me because I like I was saying previously, I loved action movies, especially like Aliens. And in Aliens, it's not really a horror movie. I guess the first one is more of a horror movie, but in the second one, you've got the Colonial Marines. They can knock down the bad guys. Like, yes, they're being overwhelmed by numbers, but you've got a way to fight back. And in Halloween, it's like, it doesn't matter what you do. You can't stop him. He is a primal force of nature. You could shoot him. You could throw him off a building. It doesn't matter. He just keeps getting back up, which is like, it's like, there is nothing you could do, which made that character, like Michael Myers, like just horrifying. And of course, that white mask, which is just so eerily creepy. It's such a simple trick, but it is so freaky. Like that entire getup, and like I remember what movie? I think it's the second one where he comes down. He's like doing a one-arm pull-up, and he like comes down like out of the ceiling or something, and like he's got like the knife in one hand, like just grab. I was like, oh my god, that's horrifying! Like the most horrifying entry I've ever seen. And the one where I think it was the second or third one. I can't remember, but he like they're in a hospital, and he turns the hot water heater like tub, like the Whirlpool jet tub, up to like super hot, and he like boils the person alive.
Yeah.
Hot tub, and I'm like that. I don't. It gave me an unhealthy fear of hot tubs for a very long time, and like hot baths. Doesn't make any sense because I was in control of the water, but I was like, oh, but what if someone comes in here and turns on like super hot water while I'm not looking? Like, could be a goner. And then Psycho was also like traumatizing. There was probably 10 years of my life, maybe 15, I'm ashamed to say, where I pulled the shower curtain open every time I went into a bathroom. Which again doesn't make sense because he wasn't hiding in the shower, but I was like, is there something in the shower? And I used to get in trouble because it was like, the bathroom that I used at my house growing up was also like our guest bathroom. So if company came over, that's the bathroom that they would use. So my mom liked to keep it nice and neat and organized. And like, she'd always find the shower curtain open. She's like, stop opening the shower curtain. Like, what are you doing? You're messing up the bathroom. I'm like, I can't help.
I need to know.
Right. Like, what if someone was hiding? No one's hiding in the shower. It's like, oh, and then, from there, I don't know if you'd classify. I think Jurassic Park scared me a little bit as a kid because I was younger when it came out, which I view, like, especially with the Raptors, as like, when she's going to find the guy who goes to restart the generators, like that scene specifically with the Raptors in that dark corridor and like the cage, like that. I know it's not a horror movie specifically, but that was always pretty bad. Jaws is another one that falls in that, like, it's not a horror movie, but it's also like when Quentin gets eaten by the shark, like, he's like falling into the mouth, like that's pretty bad. So my loves of horror movie go from like the existential, like mental dread of like even like an exorcism. I remember Exorcism of Emily Rose was also like, because it was like based on a real story. And I was like, I remember driving home from the theater and I was like horrified from that one. And then you've got movies like Virus, which was my first rated R movie I ever saw in the theaters with my dad. And that was exciting because it was my first rated R movie that I was allowed to go see in theaters. But then I kept looking at the stupid computer in our house, like, is this thing gonna come alive? Like, what's about to happen to this? Like, you know, and then, you know, you got Thing, of course, like, you know, that's awesome. Like, the whole mental crisis of like, who is the monster, who isn't the monster. And I don't know if I would classify them as horror movies specifically, but obviously zombie movies. Like, you know, I view them as like a completely separate thing because I feel like they're like action horror movies because there's always a way to fight back against the zombies. But like, you know, Resident Evil, the, you know, Night of the Living Dead, all the regular kind of, you know, one-stop shops, and even bleeding into, this is less horror related, but like Shaun of the Dead, which is like one of my favorite vibes of like, you know, a fun mixed genre movie. Because especially as I got older, I started to really love movies that blended uh, as many genres as possible because it felt like more like real life and just like it kind of felt like an anime because animes do that. They have
Yeah.
elements of horror, but then they'll have elements of humor. And they kind of try, they have the latitude to run the gambit of the human experience. And I always think that when someone can make you laugh and then like give you that spine chilling thing like in the next scene, like that's like my best feels for a movie where I'm like, oh yeah, because I was really not set up for the next thing. So it made the each experience kind of more heightened when you're laughing when you're not expecting to laughing, or you're scared when you're not expecting to be scared. It's kind of like a newer feeling, you know, from watching something that you like, you go in, okay, I know Exorcism of Emily Rose is going to be straight horror, you know?
Yeah.
So it kind of throws that curveball. But again, I love all this stuff. So I've been obviously obsessed with movies for a very long time, which is why I've found myself in this position. But those are a few of the, I think I probably went a little in the weeds there, but that's like a few of my like top hitters, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a million that I'll remember as soon as we get off this talk. But yeah, that'd be my like very long-winded answer to your question.
We appreciate this type of answers because they're usually the most sincere and not planned. And for that, I would like to recommend you right now in India, we have this horror universe, but it is not only horror, it is horror comedy universe.
Okay. That's
Yes,
awesome.
and it is based on like local type of stuff. It is not taken from the US or anywhere else. It is from here. It is very rooted in India. So for me, I was never a huge fan of horror comedy. I love this paranormal subgenre of horror. And when I watched the first movie that I watched was Stree. It is the first movie in the universe. I think Stree would be like woman in pure Hindi.
Okay.
And you'll be like, okay, so what is it about? And it starts so normal. It is like a group of friends. They're in a village, and then in this village, it is like that people, they cannot go out after a certain time, and they also have to write something specific in their walls so that the ghost will not go inside the home.
Okay.
And this ghost is like that she only takes men.
Oh,
She
that's
doesn't
good.
take women. Yeah, it's really good. So we have this group of friends, and there are many things in there. So you have this paranormal part, but you also have this comedy. It's great. I'll send you the name, but
Thank you.
I know you will enjoy it. And we have also Street Part 2 already. It already came up. And then they build up into a universe. Then they had this Bheria. Bheria is like this werewolf. But again, it is with comedy. So we have that paranormal part that this guy turns into a werewolf. But also, there are very funny moments. I'll tell you, I was watching that movie with my mother-in-law, and there's one comedy moment, something related with this drainage. And my mother-in-law, she straight started gagging from that scene. I was laughing at her mother was watching that scene. It is hilarious the way they were making it. You would never expect it to watch it in a in a horror film. And then there's also this Tama, which is a turn on this vampire, but it is love story. But again, it is comedy. And before that, we'll have another one that is Munjia, that it is a story. I don't know exactly the names in Hindi, but when the boys reach a certain age, they have to do one ritual But if they die before that ritual, they become this munja. It is like kind of a demon that they're in the trees, and then this demon comes and hunt. Very unique stories. I'll send you the
I
names
would love.
whenever.
Yes, please.
Yeah, whenever you get the time, please watch it, because if you say you like these mixes, 100% you love these movies. Do watch them in order, because they
Okay.
are connected to each other. But please watch it. I know you will enjoy it, and I know you will
I
send
would
me a message. Yes, it is
100%.
very interesting.
I also love canonical things like large universes. Again, falling back into the anime thing. I love when things build off of each other and expand the worlds and kind of mythology of the world. So I'm very excited to check them out. Yeah, please just DM, whatever
Yeah,
the
yeah.
first name is. I'll find the rest of them because I'm sure I can just search the universe. But especially if you have an order specifically that you'd like us to watch them in, I'm always down for new movies to check out. It's kind of one of the hardest things nowadays is finding something original and new, even though the world is so full with all these things. It's like trying to navigate all the content and find things worth watching. It's like you spend half the time that you would have spent watching a movie back in the 90s just finding the movie that you want to watch to watch it.
Yes, yes. You have so much content, but then reaching to something that is actually good, it's not easy, because then it will see, like, you'll read the synopsis and it will be like, oh yes, this is awesome, this is what I'm looking for, and then you see and it is poop. It's
I
not
know.
good. And
Yeah, I've been
it
so many movies recently I've purchased, and I'm like 20 minutes in. And as an indie filmmaker, I know what the budgets of these things are. It's like, some of these things were 20 million or 30 million or 40 million. And they're doing things that I don't see indie filmmakers do that are just mistakes. And I'm like, I can't, it just frustrates me. And this is part of the problem of learning how to make movies is that it's hard to completely distance yourself from that. And that's the biggest sacrifice I think I've made in learning all of this is that I can if it's just like a good quality film, I can completely disengage that part of my brain. But if there are technical problems and their budget was like, millions and millions of dollars, that's the biggest sacrifice I have. Because when I was growing up, there wasn't a single movie I didn't like. I could always find something redeeming. Like we could walk out of the movie with my dad, and my dad would be like, "The movie was not good." And I'd be like, "No, no, no, it was great because of this aspect or that aspect or this aspect." And I could always find a beautiful thing in a movie, and I think that's something that I'll gain back with time. But it's a cautionary tale for all future filmmakers. Just be careful to protect that inner child in you that loves movies and started making movies because you love them. Because it's easy to get that part corrupted, but it's not impossible to recover from. Which I'm in the recovery process of just enjoying all movies now. So I'm back on the good side of things.
I don't know if it happens to you, but sometimes we go through this thing that we love to watch this just crazy stupid movies. Like they don't make sense. They're just like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. It is
Yeah,
such
no,
a
those are
crazy
fun.
movie, but they're so
It-
enjoyable.
yeah, no, it's great to have like just different. Again, I view it kind of like when you're eating food. You don't want to always eat the same food like every day. Like you want to have something crazy different. Like even if it's something that you don't necessarily love, like pizza is my like number one food. But I can't eat pizza all the time. I got to switch it up. I got to have like, a different palate. And then it clears you. And sometimes even if you have a bad meal or something or you watch a bad movie, even if that movie wasn't exactly what you wanted, it makes the next movie you see way more enjoyable because it is what you wanted. Or I don't know. It's kind of an esoteric point, but what I'm ostensibly saying is that yes, varying the genres and varying the movies that you're watching up, and that's something that I enjoy, and I think it makes each next movie more interesting and better. And it's fun to see new and interesting and creative concepts kind of come to life. And I can't wait to watch these movies that you initially spoke about, the horror comedies and stuff, because they sound super like right up my alley. So
Yeah, yeah. when you were talking to me about the movies that you like, I just thought like, yeah, you should. And there's another one that it is not comedy, it is horror, but I'll send you. There are a few movies. There is this Tumbbad. It is a bit older. Um, I think it got released during COVID time. I watched it in because my husband told me to, and then I came to know that it was really good. And it is. I don't want to spoil you, but it is again another story in a village, and it is like kind of period horror. It is not current times, and it is amazing. Like it in the beginning when it got released, it wasn't such a big hit. Then it got re-released, and then everyone's like, "Oh, this movie is amazing." It was like that. So I'll send you those links, and also another recommendation, if I can give you, Frankenhooker. This movie we always recommended.
Okay.
Frankenhooker. Yeah, a friend of ours in the US, he recommended this movie, Frankenhooker, and he knows we also watch like this crazy movie sometimes, and his taste is like this, that he loves crazy movies. So if you need a crazy movie that it is super low budget and sometimes it doesn't make sense, he's your guy. And he recommended Frankenhooker, and it is a great movie. It is a really, I don't know why people don't talk about this movie more, but it is a great turn. Obviously, don't watch with children, but
Okay.
it is really funny.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it with that name. I wanted to give One Cut of the Dead. I don't know if you've seen that.
No.
It's a Japanese zombie movie. And I don't want to give anything away. I highly, highly recommend it. So
I'll watch it. I'll watch it with my husband 100%. And I know you're short of time. So my last question is that, do you have any recommendations, any advice for people who want to follow your path?
First and foremost, like the biggest piece of advice, which is going to sound super generic, but it is like the total truth. Like, I don't know. It's the most important piece of my puzzle, at least. Believe in yourself and know that it is going to be more difficult than you could possibly imagine. Doing anything that's worth doing always is, no matter what you do in life. Do not give up. Stay true to the child in you that got into whatever it is that you're doing, and harden yourself against the stresses that are going to come, and use that joy that you've accumulated over your life to get yourself to the position to do a movie, to power through it. And that's like the most generic, like best, like overall piece of advice. More specifically, writing is the cheapest part of making any movie. And don't get stuck in the weeds on making things perfect. But like with you and your husband, we're talking about me and my wife, find that partner that's more pragmatic, and find the perfectionist, and spend enough time so it's perfect enough for the perfectionist to be passably okay with it, and annoy the more passive person enough to where they're like, we need to eventually make a movie. And when you find that balance, you've probably spent the right amount of time writing it, because once you start going down the rest of the process, it's very hard to change things, and everything else costs money. But the writing and the creativity, you own that. So that's like your biggest tool in your toolbox that's like free and is all you. So use it to its fullest extent. But just don't like stay stuck in it for like 6 years. Like, make sure you've got that person to balance you out, to be like, hey, eventually the movie is going to need to be made.
Yeah. Learn from me. Okay, thank you so much, Kyle. It was a blast having you, and also Erin, that now she's quite busy, and I know you're also busy. Guys, they're taking time from their busy schedule. They have something to deliver today, and they're here with us. They gave us a lot of time. So thank you so much. Please go ahead and support ZombieCon Volume 1. Hopefully we'll have Volume 2 soon in the coming years, because they have so many products. Go ahead and check their Instagram page. We will put it down below in the pinned comments and the description. If you don't have anything else to say.
No, I really appreciate you having us. This was an absolute blast. I can't wait to check out those movies that you recommended. And if my wife was here, she'd say, follow us at ZombieCon movie on all social platforms and all that stuff. I'm not great with that. I just make the stuff. That's all I do. But we do have this vertical autonomous coming out. I hope everyone checks it out. I would love to hear what everyone thinks. And yeah, that's it for me. Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome. And I know I speak for Erin when should obviously thank you as well. I'm sure you guys will talk over DMs and stuff. Yeah. So, but this was a blast, an absolute pleasure, and would love anytime you want to chat movies again. Just let us know. We're apart from life. This is all we love to do. So we're always down to have a conversation.
100%. We will have another one. You will have your upcoming movie, so we will have another section for that. And we'll keep supporting you guys. It is important that we, as reviewers, we as people that love films, and you also as an audience, please support indie projects. They're the ones that you don't know if tomorrow they could make your favorite horror movie. There's no guarantee for that. Go ahead and support them, watch their movie, give them a good review, and share it with other people. Yes, please. Thank you. They also have bills to pay. Also keep that in mind, guys. And they have a very cute baby. So yeah, they need it. And with that said, thank you so much for watching us. Remember to subscribe, like, and share. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
ट्रेलर हो या टीजर रिएक्शन हो क्लियर ऑडियंस कनेक्ट फील हो रियल साउथ या बॉलीवुड हर एक स्क्रीन थलाबडी बोले क्या है असली सीन थलाबडी आवाज है असली